Welcome to Phoenix Podcast, hosted by Amin Mowanian, where we like to take these deep dives into the world of politics and economics.
Yeah.
They explore the philosophies, the histories behind the challenges we face today.
Right.
And, we've been talking a lot about artificial intelligence lately.
We have.
All this potential.
Yeah.
And it really gets you thinking, right? Like, could AI actually run an entire economy?
That's a big question.
It's a huge question, and one that has sparked a ton of debate, especially when you bring in this thing called the economic calculation problem. Picture a world where algorithms are calling the shots, deciding what gets produced, how much things cost, even who gets what.
Wow.
That's the kind of stuff that really gets economists fired up,
It does.
sometimes even arguing.
It's a fascinating debate, and it's not just theoretical. It really digs into how societies actually function. Economists, particularly from the Austrian school, have been saying for a long time that central planning, the idea of a government running the whole economy, it runs into this massive roadblock. It's the problem of how to efficiently allocate resources.
Resources meaning.
Yeah, like raw materials, labor, capital, all those things you need to produce goods and services.
Got it.
And the problem is, they say, you can't do that effectively without the price signals that come from a free market.
Okay, I think we need to break that down a bit. So we're talking about the idea that in a free market, prices act like this, like a giant information system. Is that right?
You got it. It's like, imagine your favorite bakery, right? The owner, they know exactly what sells best, when to tweak those prices, even how something like the weather affects what people are craving.
Interesting.
And they use all that info, along with the prices of ingredients, their costs, to decide what to bake and how much to charge.
Right.
That's their own economic calculation in action right there.
I see.
That's how they make sure they're not wasting resources and they're giving the peoples what they want.
So in a centrally planned economy, who's making those decisions? If there's no bakery owner figuring things out based on prices and what their customers want, who's stepping in?
That's exactly the challenge, right? A central planner, some government agency, would have to try to gather all that information, think about it, what people want, how much things cost, what resources are available, and then how to combine them in the most efficient way.
It's a lot.
So it's a whole lot. Hayek, a really prominent Austrian economist, he argued that this is basically impossible.
Why is that?
Because that knowledge, it's not sitting in one place, it's dispersed. It's spread out across society in the minds of millions of individuals. And each person, they have their own unique understanding of what they need, what their circumstances are, and so on.
Right, and our source material uses this term technosocialism to describe the idea that maybe AI could be the answer to all this.
Interesting term.
Yeah, that even with all this dispersed knowledge, maybe a super smart AI with enough data could somehow figure out how to make it work, to make central planning work.
It's an intriguing idea, right? Like the super AI crunching through massive data sets and just spitting out these perfectly optimized economic plans.
Right.
But even the smartest algorithm is only as good as the data it gets. How do you capture all the constantly changing wants and needs of millions of people, let alone factor in things like individual preferences, local conditions, all those things that make an economy tick?
It reminds me of those early attempts at using computers for economic planning. I'm thinking of Project Cybersyn in Chile back in the 70s. Wasn't that an attempt to use computers to manage the economy?
Absolutely. Project Cybersyn, it was a really ambitious experiment using, for its time, pretty advanced technology to try and coordinate economic activity.
Right.
But it ultimately hit those same fundamental roadblocks. They had trouble keeping the data accurate, up to date, even in a relatively small economy like Chile's back then. Imagine trying to do that on a global scale today.
So are we basically saying that even with today's AI and big data, we'd be running into that same wall, that it's just not possible because centralized knowledge like that?
In a lot of ways, yes. There's also this idea, tacit knowledge. It's the kind of knowledge that's tough to put into words or numbers. Think about the experience a craftsperson gains over years and years of practice. How do you program that into an AI?
You can't really put that in a spreadsheet.
Exactly. There are so many skills and insights that people develop through experience that are tough to quantify or capture in a dataset.
So if we're talking about a market economy, how does all this knowledge actually get used? It can't just be floating around in people's heads, right? How does it translate into real-world decisions?
That's where the beauty of prices and the division of labor come in. Prices, they act like signals, constantly reflecting the balance between what people want, that's demand, and what's available, that's supply. And that constant back and forth, it guides producers.
Guides them how?
It tells them what to make, how much to charge, all without a central planner having to micromanage every detail.
Like everyone has a piece of the puzzle.
Exactly, and no one needs to see the whole picture to make decisions that actually end up benefiting both themselves and the whole system.
Right.
It's a fascinating emergent order, and through this process, that tacit knowledge, that hard to explain stuff, it actually becomes visible through the choices people make in the market. You see it in the products they create, the services they offer, and how they respond to those price signals.
It's making me think of computers playing chess. Like, they're amazing at it, right?
They are.
Because the rules are clear and all the information is right there on the board.
Right.
But then imagine trying to get an AI to coach a football team.
Whoa.
Talk about complex.
So many variables.
With all the unpredictable plays, the split-second decisions.
That's a fantastic analogy. It really drives home the point that the economic calculation problem isn't about technology, not really. It's about the very nature of knowledge itself, how humans act, and the incredible complexity of a world that never stops changing.
So what does all this mean for our listener? What should they be thinking about as they keep exploring the potential of AI, especially in the realm of economics?
I think the big takeaway is that AI can be a powerful tool. Don't get me wrong, it can analyze data like nobody's business, spot patterns we might miss, but it's not some magic solution.
I'm a silver bullet.
Exactly, especially when it comes to these big, complex economic questions. You have to remember that economics, at its core, it's about human behavior, it's about choices, it's about the constant interaction of millions of individuals. And that's a level of complexity that even the most advanced AI might struggle to grasp, at least for now.
It's like you said, it's not just about the data, it's about what that data represents.
Right.
The hopes, the dreams, the needs, even the fears of real people making decisions in a world that never sits still.
Well said.
And that's why this debate over AI and the economic calculation problem is so important.
It is.
It gets to the core of how we think about the role of markets, of individual choice in society.
Absolutely.
Plenty of food for thought, I'd say.
Definitely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the fascinating world of AI, economics, and, the enduring power of markets. We'll see you next time.
See you then.
Bye.
Tell C-A-A.